Trial.
Okay, I think I'm live. This is Chadillac with the Cage Rage podcast. I'm doing a CRP Burst. It's early in the morning. Let me pull that thing out of my ear. Sorry, guys. Hey, I'm talking GSP, retirement, all that good stuff. Silva in Brazil. Trying to do this as fast as I can. I'm in a hospital right now dealing with some family members. But since everybody else is talking about it, I thought I'd jump on here and throw my 2 cents in. So here's what's going on. On the CRP, we talked earlier about GSPN having a problem with the UFC. We also talked about Nurmagomedov having a problem with the UFC and saying that stuff's not going to fly and that they're going to have to figure out a way to make it right with him before they make it right with anybody else. And if they're not going to make it right with him, it's just in his nature. It's in his core beliefs. It's in who he is. And he is not going to go for the crap that they're trying to pull with him. They think that they can just buy him back, and they say, oh, well, we'll throw him $5 million. No one's going to say no to that. He lives in squalor over there, or whatever it is they're trying to say. He doesn't go for that. I don't know how he lives or how he doesn't live, but I do know this. I know that he has a higher ethical standard than most people. And because of that, he has said no to the UFC and whatever their offer is right now. And he said, nope, I'm going to wait out my year's suspension. I'm not going to do the bullying commercial. I'm not going to take any of your crap. I'm going to do exactly as I choose to do. And that is I'm going to stick by my teammates. Which you got to take your hats off to a guy who will do something like that. Now, personally, do I think he should have done the bullying campaign? I think he ought to do that anyway. I think he should go through after his year suspension is up. I think he ought to do one on his own and say bullying's uncool because bullying's uncool. But I think he ought to do it without the repercussions of saying, if you don't do this, we're not going to let you fight. That doesn't make much sense anyway. We're not going to let you fight until you say bullying's bad. There's some kind of an oxymoron in there somewhere, right? Now, anyway, so here's the situation. On top of that, we also received news that GSP said, okay, if Nurmagomedov's not going to fight me in June, then I'm going to retire. So now GSP is putting more pressure on the UFC. Now, whether or not that is a work between GSP and Nurmagomedov leaves a lot of questions in the air, right? So Devin is saying, don't believe this a bit. GSP is not retiring. Miguel, on the other hand, is saying, I told you that Nurmagomedov was going to stick by his word, that he was not going to fight for a year. He wasn't going to play these little games with the UFC, and obviously he's not playing these games, or if he's playing them, he's winning because the UFC's losing big time on this. They're losing big when they just had 2 pretty bad shows in a row. The Brazil show was less than stellar, and the Australian show was an absolute disaster. In anyone's code, that was a disaster. So they've got to do something now. And then you have the comeback of Cain Velasquez, and that was a total disaster. He blew his knee out. A lot of people are going, that wasn't even a knockout. Whether it was or not, I don't know. The camera angles were so bad, and the UFC's notorious for having bad camera angles, so why don't we get that straight as well? So there's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be straightened out right now. They've got a big fight coming up. We don't know where Brock Lesnar's at now. What's DC going to do? He's saying he was going to retire. Now he's not going to retire. There's so much stuff up in the air. And the UFC's got a lot of fences to mend, as Miguel had said. Also, GSP is playing his cards really tight to his chest. We're not really sure what he's doing, but I've got a feeling that Devin might be right on that. I don't think for a second that GSP is just saying, look, if this isn't done in this amount of time, I quit. I'm done. I think he's saying, you're going to get it done because I want that payday. I want that for my legacy, and I want to do that particular fight or something else that's extremely relevant. Maybe a Conor McGregor in GSP. I think that's relevant enough for him to come out. And there's enough money in that the GSP would say, yeah, I'll do that. And Conor McGregor does not want the GSP fight. It'd be big money for him, but it'd be another loss in a row. McGregor needs to win. He needs that Cowboy Cerrone fight. And again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think Cerrone's a bad fight for him. I know a lot of other people don't think so. I think there's a 50-50 chance that he walks away and loses that fight. Man, how many losses in a row for Conor? He starts looking like a really bad breed in the UFC, and they put a lot of apples in a basket that had a worm in it. So hey, this has been my burst. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. And this is my first time doing it on this particular machine out of a hospital in Carmel, Indiana, waiting for my father to come out of surgery on YouTube, broadcasting live. So we'll just see how this CRP burst goes. Cross your fingers. Thanks for being here. We're appreciative of all the fans. If you don't like what we're doing, tell us. If you do, tell somebody else. Until next time, namaste.
Trial.